Hello there. I'm back for another segment of our discussion on Meniere's disease. Hopefully, these videos will be interesting to people who are suffering from Meniere's disease, or you know somebody. You might know me, and if that's the case, I hope this is educational. So in my last video, this will be part 2. Hopefully the last part today. In the last video, we talked about some of the symptoms of Meniere's disease, some of the acute symptoms, and also some of the more subtle, less talked about symptoms of Meniere's. And we left off talking about, I talked about how it's affecting me in my career and in work. And my current dilemma on what should I do now with work. So we talked about, when I was a web developer and, you kind of develop this brain fog. That's not all the time, by the way. Sometimes I'm very sharp and I'm feeling really good. And it's at those times where I really, really up the productivity. And I try to take advantage of those times when I'm feeling really sharp, because I don't know when the next wave of vertigo or brain fog is going to come. So, a lot of people, know me as a web developer, and they were very puzzled why I stopped doing that and I became a truck driver. I thought, wow, that's a huge career change. And then there's the people who know I have Meniere's disease and find out I'm driving trucks now, and they think, wow, that's probably very reckless and dangerous of you. I feel I'm a very safe truck driver. I'll see if I can. It's going to be hard for me to articulate, but see if I can explain why I went from web development to trucking. The brain fog. The brain fog is what bothers me a lot. When you're not as sharp as you should be, you're not unsafe. For how it affects me, if I can try to explain it well. I've never tried actually explaining this, but it's in the present moment. If I focus on the present moment and the task at hand, that's never a problem. But if I'm thinking of ruminating on things in the past or worrying about the future, that stress in my mind, the stress that causes vertigo for me. So with driving trucks, I'm forced to just be present, and I'm fine. I don't have to. It's not a challenge. Trucking, there's challenges in trucking, but it's not an intellectual challenge, is what I'm trying to say. It's very simple. It's you pick up here and the point A, and you bring that whatever you're hauling to point B, and the simplicity. I love the simplicity of that, and I just got it done. There's nothing to worry about. Now, the brain fog doesn't really affect me at those times, because if I'm worrying about right now, the present moment, I can handle that. It's when I'm trying to draw out information from the back of my mind about, say, like some HTML code or some PHP language syntax or CSS selectors, things like that. When I have the brain fog, it's hard for me to think of those things. But driving a truck, when you're just like thinking about the present moment, what you got to do right now, that's never a problem. So that's why I was able to do that job, no problem. And the other thing was, I always took jobs where I had a sleeper cab. The way it works in trucking is you have, in Canada at least, the hours of service rules is you can drive for 13 hours and you can be on duty for 14 hours. So however you work that is fine, as long as you stay within those parameters. 14 hours on duty. Now the shifts can be no longer than 16 hours. So that gives you like 2 hours of off-duty time. So that was perfect for me, even with the Meniere's disease, because I could use those 2 hours to rest when I was feeling particularly bad. And my start time and end times weren't regulated. I regulated those myself. I would start early enough that I didn't have to go in the office. So I would start at like 5 o'clock in the morning when nobody was around, and get in the truck, and then I would go out of the city, and I'd have a bed with me all the time. So if I started to feel the symptoms, I would just pull over at the next stop. And by the way, the vertigo never happened like all of a sudden for me. It used to, like in the beginning of days of my Meniere's disease, but more so now is like I can feel it coming. So I think, okay, time for me to pull over and relax. And what I do is meditate. I can say a lot about that, and I have said a lot about meditation, because if anybody with Meniere's disease asks me, like, if there's what would be the most helpful advice I could give somebody with Meniere's disease, is to learn how to meditate. So maybe it's not the same for everybody, but like I said before, like if I'm ruminating on the past or worrying about the future, that's when I feel it coming. I can literally feel the dizziness coming if I'm ruminating too much on the past or worrying too much over the future. So what's the antidote to that is the present moment, and just focusing on the present moment, on the task at hand. Even if the task at hand is just to breathe, focus on your breath. And once you got that in control, you can branch out and think, okay, focus on the way I'm moving, the way I'm walking, the way I'm standing, the way I'm sitting, the way I'm driving, the way I'm speaking. And it just goes out from there until you have mastered the present moment, and you try to stay in that present moment. It's the most helpful advice I have for those that suffers from Meniere's. Actually, for anybody, really. I think that's helpful advice for anybody. So driving trucks is no problem. So my dilemma now is I'm not allowed to drive trucks anymore. So should I take a job in the office? So, like, if there's anybody who's listening to this, I hope that by putting Meniere's disease in the title and putting this on YouTube, I can start a dialogue with other people who have a similar ailment or the same disease, to see what you guys are doing, and have you learned to cope with it, and what kind of jobs you have now. Because the way I see it for now, for me, my criteria in accepting a job would be, well, I have a bed there, and I can take breaks whenever I feel like taking breaks, and I can start whenever I need to start, and so it's very, very flexible on start times and end times. If I want to work through the middle of the night, because that's when I feel great, that would be perfect for me. Now, what kind of office jobs or jobs would allow that? Just jobs in general, if you're not your own boss. I can't think of any, right? That would be that flexible for me. So I guess I'm forced to maybe try to get back into web development and do that again, because a lot of that I could do at home and work my own hours. So, but also, maybe we can get into more existential stuff now. What's the point of all this? Before, at one point in my life, when I was a teenager in my early 20s, I did what I was passionate about. So I did a lot of art and music, traveling, and studying about things that I was passionate about, and speaking. I spoke. Almost, like, I guess I would say I spoke for a living. And those were good times. and then my life changed in a very, very positive way. I had kids, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. By far the best thing that ever happened to me. No regrets there of having kids. But what happens to a lot of us when we have kids, we buy into this different mode of being, where it's sort of like, okay, now it's provide at all costs. Put aside your passions and your interests, and just find a way to make money so you can provide for your kids. Now that's great, I'm not a deadbeat dad, never will be. I will always have my kids at the top of my list of priorities and providing for them. But this life, man, this society that we live in, is just consumerism. It just never ends. It's now become more than just providing for the needs of your family. It's to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. The consumerism. Yeah, it's not good. And in these last few weeks where I've been on medical leave, it's been the best time I've had in a long time, because I've started podcasting again, and I started writing again, writing music, and writing short stories, writing poetry. I don't know, maybe it's just like a midlife crisis thing that I'm doing all these things, but I feel good. If you want to visit my vlog, it's called the the podcast. It's called the Spiral into Control podcast. If you search for it anywhere you get your podcasts. There's no focus, there's no topic. I just kind of ramble about whatever I feel like rambling about. So you might not like that sort of thing, or maybe you do if you're listening to this right now, because that's exactly what I'm doing. But at least I'm on sort of a topic. Meniere's disease. But yeah, I mean, right now I feel great because I'm doing what I want to do. I'm focusing on music. Like you can see some of my music, little clips that I've started doing just on Instagram. On Instagram, my account is RJ Dempsey, if you want to look that up. But you know, the thing is, those things don't pay money, and it's sad that that's just the way it is. Should I just accept that? Maybe that's just the way it is. You either just take a job doing something you don't want to do because it's a steady paycheck, or you go try to follow your passion and make the biggest gambles, and you're happier, but you're not making a lot of money. Some people make money following their passions, but not everybody does. Why am I burdening you with this? You don't care about this stuff, but I'm just speaking now. But that's where I'm at, you know. I could take a job at any time, and I think I could do well as, say, a dispatcher or a safety guy at a trucking company. But should I do that? There's the one side is I wouldn't be as happy doing those things, and the other thing is I'm not sure whether that would even be okay. Most people think, okay, well, you don't have your license now, you can just do that stuff. Well, that stuff, I'm being 100% honest, would probably be more troublesome in terms of the Meniere's disease than driving the trucks. Just showing up and being at the office at a set time, and the symptoms coming during those times, and I wouldn't be able to do the job. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna post this video. It's just too revealing. You know, when you apply for a job, you want your the person interviewing you, or the prospective employer, to think highly of you. And if they search and they find out that, you know, there's a chance that I'm not the most productive employee, they probably won't get hired. But yeah, I'm at this point in my life where you gotta be real, right? You have to be real, and you have to be honest. And I think if you do that, maybe there's still be a job for you. There's a purpose, a calling, where you can serve a useful purpose in society. I want to find something I could do now that serves a useful purpose, that I can be productive in my way, and yeah. Does that exist? I'm open to suggestions. So, yeah. Feel free to comment on this video. If I post it, I might not post this. It just feels kind of funny right now. It's just too revealing. It's a bit weird. But if I post this, feel free to comment, and I'm open to any advice. And also, I'm going to make more videos on this topic, living with Menieres, because by and large, I've learned how to cope. And I can live a pretty productive, happy life, even with this illness. So Thanks for listening.